Welcome to another episode of Jay Leno's Garage, trip down nostalgia lane. You know, back in the 70s, mid-70s, when I was broke, I saved up enough money to buy a pretty beat-up Sunbeam Tiger. It had a 289 in it, hypo engine, but the radiator was kind of shot. It was a car I just couldn't afford to keep up. I didn't have a place to store it. I had kind of a garage, but it was just one of those deals. I wasn't making enough money to keep the car in the manner in which it should have been treated. So it got pretty beat up. I bent the frame twice and had it straightened at a frame straightening shop. I couldn't get women to ride in it because there was so much. We go down the road in the heat, they'd be going, ah, ah! The heat would it was too hot. And in one of those moments of just utter despair, I gave it to an auction to auction it off and got $2,500 for it. And I always wonder where that Tiger is now. And well, I saw this one going down the road, and I flagged the guy down. And his name is Mike Michels, and he's a former editor of the Tiger Club newsletter, California Association of Tiger Owners. I was in that 35 years ago. I got to get back in again. Mike, come on in. Now, this is your car, right?
Yes, Jay. Thanks. Thanks for having me come over. And yeah, we're happy to have you.
I really miss these. I remember 1964, what was I, 8th grade, getting my Hot Rod magazine and seeing Carroll Shelby lowering, I don't know if Ken Miles was involved, but they were lowering the engine into one of these Sunbeams. And was it Lord Roots? Is that who it was?
Lord Roots was the CEO.
He was quite shocked that they put this American engine in his car. And it just seemed like the most brilliant idea. They sort of called it a poor man's Cobra. That's what it was called back in the day. And to me, for all intents and purposes, it pretty much was a Cobra. Same engine, same transmission.
Same concept.
Yeah, same concept. A little shorter wheelbase. But yeah, mine, you drop the clutch and you wind up doing donuts because the wheelbase was too short. But I loved it. I couldn't afford to keep it at the time, and I had to get rid of it. So I've always lusted for another. And yours is about as nice a one as I've seen. Tell us about this car.
Well, thanks. I've had this car about 5 years. I don't know the whole history of it, but it's a 66 Mark 1A. There were about 2,500 of those built. You know, I've kind of gone through it. The engine, the original 260, they all had 260s then, was shot. So, but I kind of decided to go with a 289 because that's such an iconic engine. And so I drive it, I autocross it, you know, it's kind of a daily driver, and we have a lot of fun, and the club has a lot of activities. We even have a parts warehouse where we get some parts made that we can't find elsewhere.
Because a lot of people might not know this. This car was pretty successful when it came out, but what happened was Sunbeam got bought by Chrysler.
That's right, yeah.
And that was what, maybe in 66?
67.
67. In no way was Chrysler going to sell and warranty a car with a Ford engine in it. And I remember Chrysler had the 273 V8 that went in the Barracuda. But I think the distributor was at the wrong end.
Distributors are the wrong end.
It wouldn't fit in this car. Did they ever build any with it?
I think they built a couple to try, but
it
just wasn't going to work.
So the car became just a 2-year-only car. Well, 3, I guess.
3.5.
Yes.
The last year was the Mark II. They put the 289 in.
Right.
Chrysler actually was selling them, and the Pentastar was on the fender of about half that production run. But I mean, the irony is they're warrantying a Ford powertrain longer than Ford did back then. So,
yeah.
This would never do.
Yeah, it was a shame because it was a great idea. You know, this is back in the day when hybrid meant something totally different than it does now. Hybrid back in the 60s meant an American engine in a European car, like the Monteverdi, like the ESO, like any of those cars.
And
like
the Cobra,
the Cobra certainly. And of course, the Sunbeam Tiger. And for the longest time, these cars were stuck in the area between $12,000 and $20-something thousand. And then in the last couple of years, they seem to have sort of hit their stride, and people are going, oh my gosh, what have I done? I've got to go back and find my first girlfriend, you know. And so they wind up, now they're up in the $50,000?
Yeah, a really nice one, 50, 60.
Yeah, pretty amazing.
I think there's a lot of debate in the community. You know, some of us don't want them to go into 6 figures because then you kind of can't enjoy them. And then there's others who kind of wonder, well, everything else shall be touched, you know, was gone into stratosphere. So you sort of have mixed feelings. But it's very affordable. Parts are available. The drivetrain, of course, is all Ford stuff.
Yeah, and we were talking just the other day about the generator. A rebuild kit is what, $29?
$29, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, try that with your Ferrari.
I can get parts down at AutoZone.
Yeah, because it's basically a Ford with the European drivetrain. That is a custom wheel, I imagine, correct?
It's a Motolita wheel,
Yeah,
which was
Motolita, yeah.
actually period correct,
Okay.
and there were a lot of dealer added on options back then. They were generally called LAT or LA Tiger because
Right.
Hollywood Sports Cars was the purveyor of those.
Yeah.
Those included headers, dress-up kits, positractions, traction bars, an amazing array of stuff.
Yeah.
Those, if you are restoring a car and you can find some of those that are authentic, they're real finds.
Yeah.
And this has a few of those.
Yeah, probably the biggest bugaboo about this car is the wheelbase is a little short.
It is. It's 87 inches.
Yeah,
which
for
is
all the power it had, it was
pretty-
kind of a...
yeah.
And the more power you put in it, the more that exacerbates the short wheelbase. So you wind up kind of doing
you
this
can
whole
swap
time.
ends pretty easy.
But, you know, as a fun car to just drop into second gear, put your foot in and feel that long torque pull on it, it's a lot of fun to drive.
It is really. Yeah, it's a poor man's Cobra for sure.
Yeah,
and,
yeah. And what rear end did it use?
It was a Dana 44
Okay.
with 288 rear axle ratio, which seems pretty tall, but the original wheels and tires were 13s.
Yeah, yeah.
Most folks have gone +1 or +2 today. I still have the original wheels and tires, but it's like driving on some,
Yeah,
you know, bicycle tires. Yeah.
Did you ever think of putting the 5-speed in it?
I thought about it. Some do.
Yeah.
It's pedaling pretty fast on the freeway.
Yeah.
One thing that helps is I have a little bit larger diameter rear tires, so
Okay.
that underdrives it or overdrives it a little bit. But a Tremec 5-speed is a pretty popular modification.
And it's amazing how simple cars were back in the day. This was considered a well-equipped sports car. It had roll-up windows, ooh, a radio, oh my gosh, and a top that actually sealed from the elements. Yeah, I mean, there's no head
restraints.
of any kind.
But they were actually, compared to their competitors at the time, like Triumphs and MGs, the cockpit's a little roomier.
Yeah.
They had telescoping steering wheel. They
Right.
had flow-through ventilation.
And
The
those are
seat height is
those are modern seatbelts.
those are
correct?
modern seat belts. So when I got it, that was the first thing I was going to put in.
And this is the first car I ever saw this tiger stripe on it, too, going over the hood that way.
Yeah, I don't know the whole story on that stripe.
Yeah.
There was a kit that went a tiger stripe that went over the tail, and that was a LAT option. A previous owner put these on. I was going to take them off, but then everybody says, no, I kind of like them. And
Are those mini light wheels?
these are Panasports, but
Oh,
Mini
Panasport,
Lights
okay.
would have been
Yeah.
the choice back in the day.
Let's open the
And,
hood. Let's take a look under the
okay,
hood and see what we
great.
got here. I remember on mine, to change this rear spark plug, didn't you have to go in under the...
Yeah, there's a
little
rubber
door.
plug in
Yeah.
the driver's footwell. That's the easy one to get to. The
Yeah,
rest of them,
yeah.
I've got the scars to prove.
I believe when that rubber plug is out, your foot is on fire. It's like,
You want to seal up the firewall really,
I just
really
remember
well,
driving on a
so.
date and a woman going, stop, get out. And this woman just got out and went, just tried to get some cool air. She was so hot from driving in this car. And what do you have on there for carburation?
It's a Holley 600 CFM, which is
Okay.
correct for the day. They came with 2-barrel auto lights, but in the day, everybody tossed those out. They put on a Edelbrock F4B manifold, and this is basically the same manifold. They also threw away the air cleaners, and believe it or not, that air cleaner is extremely hard to find.
Yeah, and what are you looking at here, about 300 horse with this one?
Yeah, actually 288 at the rear wheels, which is about 320 at the crank.
Very
It's a real
nicely
healthy
done.
motor.
Very
You have to
nicely
light
done.
the fuse real careful.
Is this a single master?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Some go to a dual master.
Yeah.
There's a Mazda piece that
I
works
thought by
pretty good.
66 legally you had to have dual master.
No,
Maybe
I think those were
67.
67, and,
Yeah.
as you know, a lot of cars kind of stop at that 67.
Yeah.
You know, that's another reason Chrysler pulled the plug. To make
Right.
it comply with 68 rules, it would be way too expensive.
Right,
so.
right. Well, boy, it is a great looking car. Nice
Thanks.
size trunk, nice size driving. Can we take it for a ride?
Absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah.
I gotta admit, I haven't driven a Sunbeam Tiger in about 25 years at least. But this is the nicest one I've driven. Mine was all over the road. I could never afford to get it set up properly or put it together properly. It overheated, but it was fast and I loved it. This is the car my car should have been. You know, whenever you buy a car like this, you always want to buy it from a club member, because guys in the club like Michael, you know, they're like me. They're in the more money than brains club. They put their time and effort into getting the vehicle right, and it's not a matter of cost. It's a matter of just getting it right. And when you buy from guys that are in a club, they'll usually be pretty straight with you. You might pay a few bucks more, but you'll get something that's done properly. And this car just feels sorted. Boy, it tracks nicely. I know you think the steering is heavy, but as someone who drives a lot of cars from the 20s and 30s, it doesn't really
not
feel
so
that
bad,
heavy
yeah.
to me.
Yeah, I worked on the alignment. Alignment's pretty tricky on these because to make the engine fit, they had to move things around, so the geometry really is all wrong. So if you can get it aligned right, it's a miracle.
And here's something English cars never had, torque. And a great looking car, just that classic sort of English look, and I love this green color as well. It's not exactly British racing green, is it? What is it?
Well, it's a little more blue than
Yeah.
the Sunbeam title for it was forest green.
Yeah.
But yeah, this car was repainted red, and then somebody repainted it back to green. I think green is the classic color.
Now,
for
it came
yeah.
originally discs in the front, drums in the back. Is it still drums in the back?
Still drums in the back.
Yeah, okay.
They don't do much. The shoes will last just about forever.
Yeah.
But it's got the Girling discs in the front, and then a 3-to-1 Girling power brake booster, which is really important.
And what is your weight distribution?
Well, I was surprised that we actually did weigh it and get the wheel weights, and this car is 51 front, 49 rear.
Well, that's amazing, because I thought originally, weren't they like 57 and...
Yeah, probably not quite that much, but since
Yeah.
I have aluminum heads and aluminum
Yeah.
manifold, that's probably 130 pounds off the front end, but it's more balanced than you might think.
I love the proper Smith instruments. I love the white on black dial, very nice. Big analog clock. At 60, you turn at about 2,800 RPM. Classic English motoring with just a touch of American power. Well, I want to thank Michael for bringing this car by. It brings back a lot of memories. Oh, painful memories. I wish I still had mine.
You got to get one someday.
I gotta
Jay.
go back and get another Tiger.
And I know where you can get one.
You do?
I know a lot of guys where you get one.
Well,
so,
I'm not going to do a burnout because this is his car. But Michael, thank you very much.
Thanks, Jay. Yeah,
really,
it was a lot
it's
of
like
fun.
going back and like the girl you took to the prom. She looks exactly the same. Actually, better. See you next week.